Hi guys, so what I'm going to try and do in this video is to talk you through the main foils that I've been using with FoilDrive Plus. So the size of the foil is really important in allowing you to do what you want to do, and I've noticed that there's a real sort of crossover point when you go from one foil size down to another, where everything suddenly becomes a lot harder. Now, this is for me. I'm 82 kilograms with my skill level and the conditions that I've got here, and it's obviously going to be different for everybody, especially with the size of board that you're going to use. Now, I've done a video already on different board size with FoilDrive, so if you want to check that out, it's on my YouTube channel. But right now, I'm going to focus mainly on foil size. I will still relate that to board size as well, because there is a difference in the three board sizes I've been using, and also battery duration. So let's get started. First of all, the sizes of the foils that I've been using. This is the Axis 1300, very high aspect ratio, just under 10, projected area 1700 centimeters squared, and its wingspan, as its name implies, is 1300 millimeters. The Kajira 1440 is the next foil that I've been using a lot with FoilDrive. Again, very high aspect ratio. I'm afraid I don't know the exact figures, but its name, 1440, I believe, is its projected area in centimeters squared. Okay, then we've got the Art 1099. We're going down in size, obviously. 1099 refers to the wingspan. Its aspect ratio is just over 10, 10.6 to be exact, and projected area 1142 centimeters squared. And finally, the smallest foil that I've been using with FoilDrive to date is the Kajira 1095. Again, very high aspect ratio, and the only measurement that I know off the top of my head is due to its name, 1095, again I believe is the projected area. So, how do all these different foils perform with the different size or volumes of boards with me at 82 kilograms? First of all, I'll start with flat water. Okay, so flat water with the 110 litre board. It's a Jimmy Lewis custom SUP foil board. So with the 13, in fact with all of them, I can get up on flat water without a paddle, literally just kneeling on the board, pull the trigger, a little bit of speed, come up onto my feet as I accelerate, and I'm up on foil. Don't even have to think about it with the 1300. The 1440 again, absolutely effortless. The 1099, I'm having to be real careful. I have to build up the speed before I can lift up onto foil. And with the 1095, I'm having to coax it just a little bit by bouncing. I've got to wait a while to let it build up speed, and really, if I'm going against the wind or against the swell, no way, can't do it. I have to be going in the direction of swell or wind if there is any, and even if I am, then a little bit of bouncing after I've built up some speed is needed to get up onto the foil. That's the 110 litre board. The 90 litre board. Again, with the 1300, absolutely no problem at all. The 1440, again, isn't an issue. The 1099 is like the 1095 for the 110 litre boards. I can't get up onto foil if I'm heading against the wind or against even the smallest of swell. I have to be heading in that direction, so I'm getting a little bit of just the tiniest little bit of a help from the wind or swell. And I will still have to just do the real barest little bit of well, I say coaxing, just bouncing gently to get it onto foil. 1095 on the 90 litre boards, I can just do it with a lot of coaxing, and again it has to be in the direction of the swell or the wind. Now going down to the 60 litre board. Now I'm lying on the 60 litre board on my elbows, so my chest is off the board, and if you haven't seen already how I set up my FoilDrive box on the 60 litre boards, then check out my Instagram account or my YouTube channel, because I've got pictures or videos that show how I set it up. But I can't have the box at the back of the board, because being negative volume, the box sinks underwater if it's at the back, loses connection with the wireless trigger. So if that's my front foot on the board, then the FoilDrive box is literally just to the side. So there's my front foot, there's the FoilDrive box, literally just off the center line and just slightly back from the front of my foot. And it nearly gets rid of all the swing weight, and it's not in the way at all. Even when because I'm use FoilDrive, you don't have to paddle the board, so you don't have to lie on the board. So not completely anyway. So when I'm lying on the board, I'm up on my elbows, hands either side of the nose, pull the trigger to build up some speed as the wave is approaching. And then when the wave picks you up, as long as you've got enough speed at that point, then I can pop up onto foil. Now, that's with the small foils, but with the big foil, flat water, no problem at all. Even with my 60 litre boards, flat water, just FoilDrive can easily get up onto the foil with the 1300. The 1440, a little bit of coaxing. So you can see the progressional level of difficulty as you go down in foil size and as you go down in board size with what I can get up onto the foil using FoilDrive. But I can still do it. It's a little bit of coaxing, but not too difficult. The 1099 on the 60 litre board, I cannot get up onto foil without some sort of little extra push from a reasonable bit of swell or wave. 1099, that is necessary on a 60 litre board. And I haven't actually used I haven't had the opportunity or the conditions yet to use the 1095 on my 60 litre board, but I'm assuming that it will need me to build up more speed before the bump arrives. So if I'm matching the speed of the bump, then it'll allow me to get up onto foil. But if I don't pick up enough speed by the time that bump arrives, it'll just go underneath me and I'll miss it. So yeah, the smaller the foil and the small board, you're really making life difficult for yourself, but so much more fun. Obviously, faster, more maneuverable, lets you ride bigger waves, that sort of thing. Okay, so I've covered the foil sizes compared to the board sizes, what conditions I need to get up on foil. For me, the difference in size between the Kajira 1440 and the Axis Art 1099, that's the main size difference for me. It's 82 kilograms with either a 90 or a 60 litre board. That's the gap that I suddenly notice a huge difference in how difficult it is to get up onto foil. If you ride Axis, a comparable foil in duration, battery duration, and being able to get up onto foil, a comparable model would be the HPS 1050. A friend of mine's got that, and very similar performance range to the Kajira 1440. Now, battery duration. Okay, so this is gonna again be impacted massively by your weight, by the size of foil that you're using, by the board size and volume that you're using, and if you're going into the wind as well, because if it's a windy day, you're going against the wind, it really slows you down and creates so much more drag than I thought it would. So let's just assume we're on flat water and it's windless, nice and calm. Big foil like the 1300 or bigger, even the 1150, which is slower than the 1300, but it's got more lift and slower, so the battery does last a little bit longer. And if you've got a bigger foil than that with more lift, then the battery duration will last longer. But the 1300 for me, full e-foiling, I can get around about 25 to 30 minutes. Now, I don't just cruise. This is my problem. It's very rare that I just cruise. I like to carve around and do circles and, this, that and the other. So if I was being gentle, just a cruising session, I'm sure I could top 30 minutes easy, especially on the 1150 or bigger. That's a big floaty board as well. So, well, my 90 litre board. So with a 60 litre board, again, every time you fall off, getting up onto foil is going to take a big chunk of battery power. So with a 1300 or bigger, it takes up hardly any battery power to get up on foil. But with a 60 litre board, it's going to take a much bigger chunk of battery power to get up on board, so on foil. So the more you fall off, obviously the less time on foil the battery will last. But what I'm trying to say is that with a negative volume board, that whole situation is greatly increased, or I should say the battery duration is greatly reduced. So that's full e-foiling. Now, as you go down in size, the 1440 lasted me about 20 minutes, and the 1099 full e-foiling on the 90 litre board and 110 litre board lasted me less than 15 minutes. But I was really carving it up. I mean, I was going full throttle, because the 1300 and the 1150, I find they don't like going too fast. You've got to, ease off on the throttle. So I was going with the 1150, I was going like 75-80% most of the time. As the foil size goes down, you have to go at a higher speed, so your throttle is like 85-90. On the Art, it was around about 95 to 100 the whole time, but I was really trying to put it through its paces. So, oh, by the way, this is all on the big battery. Really carving around. If you're just cruising, the battery will last a lot longer. But why choose the 1099 to cruise? You wouldn't. You'd be on a bigger foil. That is battery duration for fully foiling. Okay, battery duration for as an assist is, literally just to assist you getting onto foil, and maybe keeping it at 30-35% to help you paddle back out in between rides. It's going to last you minimum 2 hours. I mean, it depends. I mean, it has lasted me nearly 4 hours on a couple of sessions. But the more you use it to help paddle out, then yeah, if you keep it at 40% or more, then you'll probably only get an hour and a half, sort of thing. But what I absolutely love using FoilDrive for is as an assist to help me connect to multiple waves. So obviously it helps me get up onto foil, ride the wave, turn off the back of the wave, try and pump out back as far as I can just by pumping alone, and then either when I've made a mistake or I'm getting tired or I'm just feeling lazy, as you come off the foil you can tell that that's about to happen. So ideally just before the board hits the surface of the water, or as the board hits the surface of the water, if you don't get it completely right, you pull the trigger and you're e-foiling further out back. And I've just put out on my YouTube channel a video on doing exactly that, so you can check that out if you want. So that's what I call partial e-foiling. It's still using the e-foil capabilities, but not fully, not continually. You still get quite a long duration where you're not using the FoilDrive motor. This partial e-foiling that I'm talking about, with the 1300, falling off quite a lot and riding the waves, pumping out, sometimes e-foiling half the distance, sometimes the whole distance. The best I've got yet is an hour and 20 minutes, just over an hour and 20 minutes. But with a bigger foil, with more lift, I reckon hour and a half or more easy. And the better I get, the less mistakes I make in terms of falling off and the board, slapping against the water, then that time will be increased for each battery. The 1440, so when the conditions, the swell or the waves are a little bit bigger, I'll use the 1440 for doing this, and I've had 3/4 of an hour. The 1099, I've done this with once or twice, but the conditions were really messy and I was falling off left, right and centre. So obviously the more you've got to use the assist to get up on foil, those are the occasions where you're using the most amount of power from the battery, so it drains quicker. So the better you are, the less mistakes you make. Obviously you're going to have much more time for each battery. Okay, so there's one last thing that I want to say about foil size, and that is if you've got a foil that's bigger than the 1300, then it makes a big difference. Now, I can't give any details about the foil, but I've recently received from Axis, let's just say a bigger foil. Please be patient, don't ask me anything about it because I'm not allowed to say anything. All I'll say is that it's slightly bigger than my biggest foil. Now with the Axis 1300, the only time that I find it difficult to get up onto the foil with any board in any conditions is when the battery is under 10%. FoilDrive Plus is really cool because unlike the original assist, as the battery charge drains, the power output also decreases. But that doesn't really happen on the FoilDrive Plus until you get really low battery, like below 10%. And then I've noticed that the 1300, I have to really coax it to get it up on the foil. But this bigger foil, I had the battery at 6%, and I thought, oh, I better stop now. I don't want to damage the battery. But then I thought, I'll give it a go. And I was up on foil every bit as easy as if it was 90%. So if you want to increase your battery duration, it just stands to reason. Use a bigger foil, but then obviously you're restricted to, it's less maneuverable. But for cruising and full e-foiling, big foils are the way to go, really are. For the semi-e-foiling that I only use the e-foiling to power back out the back when connecting multiple waves. For me, the 1440 or the 1099, that's the perfect balance between performance and battery duration. I've been really enjoying all the experiences that you guys have been putting out onto Facebook or wherever. I love the fact that everybody's sharing their experiences. I'm learning so much from everybody, and I really hope that this has been helpful. If I haven't covered something, you got a question, please feel free to fire any questions at me. I'll do my best to answer. Otherwise, just more time on the water. Awesome. Catch you later.